Hi, I'm Alesia, and this is Divine Living with Purpose, where we talk about identity, integrity, and what it takes to stay rooted in environments that constantly try to shape you. And today we're going to talk about something that doesn't look quite dangerous, but it has more power than you actually think. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up as a crisis. It doesn't even feel extreme, but in fact, it usually looks normal, sometimes even impressive. And that's why we rarely question it, but we should. Because of some of what we're feeding on is quietly draining us. It looks normal, it looks successful, it looks elevated, but it's not strengthening you. And if you don't stop long enough to examine what you're consuming, you can slowly be shaped by the things that were never meant to sustain you. So let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're just taking in so much from the world around you, but something inside of you feels less steady than it used to? I mean, think about it. Nothing's falling apart. There's no chaos. You're just feeling less anchored, less clear, less centered than you used to be. And you can't quite put your finger on it. You can't blame your schedule. You can't blame a significant shift in your life. Truthfully, nothing dramatic has happened, but something still feels off. And that feeling isn't random, guys. It may not be about what you're carrying. It could be about what you're consuming. Because not everything you consume nourishes you. And some of what you've been feeding on is quietly draining you, actually. So I want to take a moment in time, right? I want to take a moment in scripture from the book of Daniel. And this always unsettles me. So there we have Daniel, a young man that's taken away from everything familiar, right? His home, his culture, his name, and placed inside of an empire designed to reshape him. That young man was Daniel, right? So he wasn't invited into that space and place in Babylon. He was absorbed in it. This new language, new education, new expectations. And then came the offer from the great king, right? The king's table. They offered him the best food and the best wine and the best access. And it's not seen as punishment, right? Actually, it was privilege. And that's what makes it so dangerous, because sometimes what changes you doesn't attack you head on. It rewards you. It affirms you. It elevates you. But Daniel understood something that most of us and most people actually miss. And if he let the table feed him, eventually the table would define him. So he made a quiet decision inside. It wasn't loud. He wasn't rebellious at all. In fact, he was very disciplined. And he refused what he knew would shape him. And that one decision preserved who he was in a place that was designed to erase him. I'll share a story with you. There was a season in my life where I sat at a very powerful table. I had the influence, I had the prestige and the access. A simple request on behalf of who I was connected to could simply move mountains. Doors opened, rooms shifted, people listened. And that's what made things so dangerous, right? Because behind all of that access, there was more positioning than I could imagine. There was more validation. There was more recognition. And oftentimes you don't notice it at first, right? You just kind of slowly begin adjusting over time. You start laughing at things that you wouldn't have laughed at before. You start normalizing conversations that once unsettle you. You start tolerating attitudes that don't quite sit well with your spirit. And because everybody else around you calls it normal, that's where the internal battle starts happening, right? You start questioning yourself and think, hey man, am I being too rigid? Is this really serious? Now that drift happens, now it's not dramatic at all. Like I stated before, it happens quietly. And here's the hard truth. You can sit at very powerful tables and still starve spiritually. Let me say that again. You can sit at very powerful tables and still starve spiritually. You can gain influence, and slowly, your integrity starts to slip away. You can have access, but you can also lose alignment at the same time. And that loss, it won't be loud at all. It'll be subtle. And it happens through repetition. It happens through what we scroll every day. TikTok and YouTube and all kind of social media things we could get into and allow to kind of contaminate our minds, right? What about the music that you're listening to, repeatedly over time? And through what you tolerate long enough that it stops bothering you. What you repeatedly consume doesn't just influence your behavior. It ultimately will drive your desires. It'll shape your desires. And when your desires shift quietly, you don't notice the drift until you're already far from the center, right? So let me ask you this plainly. What are you feeding on right now? What are you watching? What are you listening to? What conversations are you a part of that's shaping your tone? Are you listening to gossip? Are you partaking in conversations about people that you shouldn't? Because ultimately, those things can shape you over time. What content are you watching that's shaping your appetite? Because the more you watch and binge and feed off of things, it's going to ultimately shape your appetite. What environments are you in that's shaping your standards? And I'll ask you, is it producing peace or is it producing pressure? Is it producing conviction inside of you, or is it causing you to compromise? Is it bringing clarity or is it bringing confusion? If someone studied you and studied your intake for a week, what would they say is forming or shaping you? Think about it. If they inventoried what you watch, what you listen to, and what environments you're in, what would they say about you? You know? There was an underlying strength that Daniel had, and he wasn't louder than everyone else. He was actually stronger. He wasn't reactive at all, but he was definitely rooted. He wasn't defensive, but he was disciplined. And he ate differently in Babylon. Just because they offered him wine and the greatest food and all these things, he didn't eat that. And that's that quiet discipline that made him so unshakable. And so while others fed on that culture that he was in, he fed off the conviction that he felt. So while others absorbed that environment, he filtered it. And that's why he lasted. So what I want you to know is that not everything at the table is meant for you. Not everything impressive is nourishing. And some of what you're feeding on is actually quietly draining you. You don't have to leave the table, but you do have to choose what you consume. I'll say that again. You don't have to leave the table, but you do have to choose what you consume at the table. Because integrity isn't lost in just one decision. It erodes through intake constantly, over and over again. And so I just wanted to leave those couple nuggets with you. So my name is Alesia, and this is Divine Living with Purpose. If this video challenged you, I encourage you to like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe so you don't want to miss out on anything that's up and coming next. In the next episode, we're going to talk about what it costs to stand firm when you're the only one choosing differently. And I'll meet you right there next time.